Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Hey there, everybody. It's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards and get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. It's Friday Night Lights. It's the Wednesday edition. I'm here with my friends, Willie Walls and the great Swame Odell Blocker, talking all things NFL. Guys, there were a couple of trades this past week. Let's talk about the Devontae Parker leaves South Beach and goes to New England. And here's what we found out after. The Cowboys were in on this deal, but the Patriots get him. Willie, you like Devontae Parker going to New England?
I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of people do, but he's another. Tell me, how many games have Devontae Parker played fully? Okay, I'll wait. Okay. And let me give you some more stuff.
Did you know the answer to that question, by the way?
You can't.
It's quite a few.
It's not a lot. You know, it's like it's in the single digits. You know, so secondly is I don't know if his skill set fits that quarterback to what he does. Devontae Parker is a contested type of guy. He'll be great for Rodgers, you know, because Rodgers will throw the ball up there to him, but not him. This guy in aggressiveness last year was 15%, 23rd in the NFL, you know, being aggressive, you know. So I don't know if the skill sets match. And I know Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick, but he's made mistakes too. You remember, he got Ocho Stinko. He got him there that he said, that's not the guy for me right here. So, I mean, I understand what he's doing, but, you know, you know, you saw some other receivers he had too. You know, to me, is his health. Can he stay healthy for a full season? I mean, it's not like he's a Wes Walker type, you know, something like that. Can he stay healthy for the full season? And does his skill set match the quarterback skill set? Because, like, to me, you know, he's a careful passer. He doesn't like to throw it. You know, he doesn't throw the ball. So I don't know if it's going to work out like people think it's going to work out.
Swami, my problem with Devontae Parker has always been it's come too easily for him, right? He was the kind of guy who was bigger than probably everybody in high school. He was probably better than most people in college at Louisville. Like, he didn't put the work in. Goes to Miami, and Willie's right. He was a tub guy, as Willie would say, right? He wasn't on the field. Is he all of a sudden going to change now that he's in New England and be a star? Or is he going to be a guy that Mac Jones can find?
I don't know if New England's offense is going to, you know, make him a star, right? And I know we're talking about fantasy and we're talking about, you know, his production, why he's there. I think he's brought in to bring some toughness. I think he brings that. Like you said, I think he's somebody who could help them out in the running game. I think he's more of a possession receiver. He obviously got some playmaking ability, but he's got to stay healthy. I think the most receptions that I'm looking at right here, he's had 70 once. He's reached about 50 a couple of times, 1,000 yards one time. He had one season over 4 touchdowns, and that was 9 touchdowns in 2017. And even though I'm looking at these stats and I'm wondering, how did I roster him? And I know I did quite a few times, not just in DFS, but even the season long. I know I picked him up for a game or two, maybe late in the season or something. But looking at these numbers, I don't even see how I did that. He's never really put up really good numbers, but I think he's a good wide receiver. And so if Belichick, if Bill is going to bring him in and make him a part of that offense, I think he'll probably have very similar numbers, you know, somewhere around 40 catches, maybe 4 touchdowns, but I don't think he's going to bring any fantasy goodness there. But he may be good for their offense or their team.
Can we agree, guys, that he's better than what they had? I mean, Jacoby Myers is good, but Devontae Parker is better than anybody else there, Willie. True?
I think Bourne was – I'll let Willie.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, you know, it's like somebody telling you, how does she look? Well, she's okay, you know. And when you hear that, she's okay, you like, you know. I mean, you know, she got some good qualities. Her personality is really nice. You know, what the hell?
So you're saying you don't like personalities, Willie? You're not a personality guy?
I mean, I am a person. I mean, you know, you gotta, but I like to have a boo boo, boo boo, boo boo, boo boo.
No. All I know, All I know is I'm not even really sure. We talking about the Boston.
This show's already off the rails. It's
Like,
only been 5 minutes.
Like, I'm not really sure where he's going with the boom boom and the zoom zoom. But let's bring it back to something that might make sense for the Patriots. And again, Doc, I don't know. I think he does bring something. It's just I don't know if it's going to be fantasy goodness, if that makes sense. And sometimes you go out and you get pieces that's going to fit well in your offense. You bring in veteran guys. If he's going to New England, I think he has the work ethics, and I think that means that he's, you know, somebody they think can handle their playbook and work as a part of the offense. I don't know if they would have traded for him if they didn't think so.
But let me ask you something. What was that running back that Bill got in 2001 when he took him to the Super Bowl from Cincinnati? What was that?
Corey Dillon.
Corey Dillon. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what Bill is trying to look for, that kind of lightning, you know, to see if he can help.
Dillon was a ball pro.
He was a baller before. But see, but like I said, Parker, to me, he doesn't stay healthy enough. You know,
but Parker was a number one receiver, right? I mean, he was a legitimate number one receiver on a team.
In theory.
Yeah.
But listen to this. Number one receiver, 2015, 3 touchdowns, 16, 4, 17, 1, 18, 1, 20, 4, 21, 2.
And what does the team like to do? Run the ball. Run.
Well, he's good in the red zone. He's a big dude. He's 6'4". I mean, if Mac throws it 3 yards in the red zone, he should be able to come down with it, right? I mean, I could see that being an advantage here.
I'm assuming he did one time in 18, one time in 17, 2 times in 21.
You're a tough crowd there, Swame.
I'm just saying.
Let's talk about a trade that we heard about today. I don't know if there's truth to this or not, but I mean, when there's smoke, there's fire in the NFL, right? Supposedly, the Jets offered the number 10 overall pick for DK Metcalf, and Seattle said no. Do we like that trade offer, Willie? Let's look at it from both sides. If you're Seattle, would you do that trade? If you're the Jets, would you do that trade?
You say a 10th draft choice for DK?
10th overall pick. The 10th overall pick in the first round for DK Metcalf.
Oh, hell no. You ain't getting that DJ for that. Because you don't know what that 10th pick. We know what DJ Metcalf is.
DK.
You don't know what that pick is going to be.
I know you hear music, but he's no DJ. DK.
Hell no. I wouldn't have done that deal either. You have to.
Right, but in the NFL, that's not a bad haul for a DK Metcalf, a 10th overall pick.
Yeah, but
Amari Cooper went for like a second and something else, and didn't somebody else go for a 5th recently? A 2nd and a 5th was Amari Cooper.
Who? I'm not.
I'm not gonna put Metcalf.
All right, Tyreek Hill didn't go for as much as you would have thought he did. Would you have thought that Tyreek Hill would have gone for more, like, better picks? I mean, he went for like a late first and a second round. I mean, it wasn't like he went for the 10th overall pick.
Yeah, but you remember that was a free agent situation. That was some, some things else going on. Listen, DJ Metcalf, if you give him up for a 10th round, please, they'll be stupid. I mean, if I'm Seattle, I would have said no too. You got to come up.
Well, I mean, DK Metcalf for the 10th overall pick in the first round, yay or nay?
Negative.
No
way. It's not even close, Doc.
No.
But here's why. I'm just going to throw this out. Let's say that Seattle does not get a quarterback. Let's say they start the year with Drew Lock. Are you telling me that DK Metcalf is not going to be annoyed?
Well, wait a minute. If he would be annoyed with Lock, what would he be in New York?
Rich.
Doc,
listen, I'm going to say this. Either way, he's going to get that money. You know what I mean? Whether it's going to be with Seattle, it's going to be somebody else. But if I'm Seattle, I'm not giving him up for the 10th choice in there. If you're talking about the number 1 and number 2, okay, now we're talking. But 10, no, not DJ Metcalf. He's got too much potential for him to give him up for that. No.
Yeah, they need a blue chip for him.
Yeah. Now, did you guys see the other trade in the NFL? The trade that the Saints and the Eagles made, where the Saints got an extra pick in the first round and they gave the Eagles a number 1 and a number 2 in 2023. I don't know if you guys caught that. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch.
I did not.
Yeah. So basically, the Eagles. Let me find it. The Saints and Eagles made a trade where the Eagles gave up a pick this year, right? And then what they did was they got back a haul. Let me find. I'm trying to find the exact trade. It was really overpayment. So the question is, do you think it's crazy that these teams are overpaying for draft picks or draft picks? Oh, here we go. The Saints acquired the number 16 pick, the number 19 pick, and a 6th round pick from the Eagles. Okay. For the 18th pick, a 3rd round pick, a 7th round pick, a 2023 1st round pick, and a 2024 2nd round pick. So basically, to get one more pick in the 1st round, the Eagles got a 1st rounder and a second round pick, in a year and 2 years. Are teams over? The question is, are teams overpaying to move up in the draft?
Well, this is what I say. We don't know. I mean, people always get those choices, but then sometimes those choices are not what you think they are. They work out differently. And then you have a guy that, you got it as a free agent who end up being a sleeper. So, wow, this guy ended up being a starter. So, these draft choices are potential. That don't mean that they're going to turn out, because if you draft like the Commanders, okay, you get an ass. So you get an ass, you get the 23rd pick, then you get a come on, So I'm not going to say that. I mean, it has to be somebody who, like Kansas City, the Patriots, teams that I trust. When you talk about other teams like that, okay, what does that mean? Philadelphia. What has Philadelphia done that has been significant? Besides that they won a Super Bowl, but what, they got Wentz. Is Wentz still with them? Let's look at their choices. Come on. I don't think it. Listen, I just think it's people making deals. But if you draft like Belichick, if you draft like Bill, then I would say okay. This might mean something. But for me, I mean, it's just a tree falling in the forest for me, to be honest with you.
Swame, do teams give up too much to move up in the draft?
Doc, if this was draft day and it was a guy there that you really wanted and you thought would make a difference on your team and you moved up to do it, I would agree. This is like Walls going to the field with one pair of socks. It just doesn't make sense. You don't even know what's going to be there for us to be able to determine if that made sense to go up to get a pick that they thought would fall or that would be there, because they have no way of being able to determine, this far ahead of the draft. It just doesn't make any sense. It's worse than a tree falling in the forest, because at least sometimes we know why trees fall. We have no idea why these guys decided to do this trade. You talking about 0 sense. This makes me feel like somebody in these front offices are dating. Because it just doesn't make any sense. They have to have some other backdoor reason for doing it, especially the Saints. I mean, what are they really even looking to do? They're trying to put something together post, the Sean Payton era has ended, and now they start off with this goofy thing that they're doing. I mean, who knows?
The only thing that I could see, guys, is if maybe the Saints move up because they want to get some of these young receivers. So let's take a look at some of these young receivers in the draft. Have you guys taken a look at this guy, Drake London from USC? Dude is like 6'5". He's big, basketball player. Kind of reminds me of Mike Evans type, right, Willie?
Yeah, he's a big bodied receiver that got some wheels, that got some speed. So depending on who he goes to, who drafts him. I mean that, but he is definitely a man of interest, a man that I wouldn't mind if the Commanders can take a look at. I mean, because he, I mean that, and then you got the other receivers. You got Garrett Wilson, you got O'Clave. They're more your route runners, precise route runners type of receivers. Really, to be honest with you, we don't have. It's not a chase in this draft, okay, but it's deep.
It's deep.
You got the draft is really deep. So you got because I know you got some Traylon Brooks for Arkansas, you got Pickens for Georgia, Sky Moore for Western Michigan, Christopher Watson for North Dakota State. You got people like that they got potential. So this draft is deep for wide receivers. Wide receivers is pretty good. You should be able to find if you do your homework the right way, you should be able to find a good receiver in this draft.
Swami, you're a Ravens fan. They got Bateman in round 2, if I believe, last year. Do you think teams should be trading up and getting all these guys? Because Willie gave us a lot of guys, right? Burks, who, the Cowboys supposedly like him at 24. Olave is a good young receiver. Garrett Wilson, people talking about him top 10. Drake London, all these players. Do you think that teams should be waiting more till rounds 2 and 3 like your Ravens did? And then maybe spend round 1 with guys like lineman guys, offensive linemen and defensive linemen? Where do you think teams should spend their draft capital?
I think it's just kind of depending on what your needs are, because oftentimes we see these bad teams, they take these receivers, and every year somebody who's 6'5" or 6'2" and 190 and run a 4.38 or 4.4, and it doesn't matter when your quarterback is Willie Walls. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter when they can't protect, the O-line can't keep even the prospect upright. Right, the first year quarterbacks we've seen, some of these second year guys, they either can't stay healthy or they can't stay off the ground. They under constant pressure. Then the receivers, unfortunately, a lot of them are becoming injured, and just it's like some of these guys are luxuries for good teams, right? The Ravens went out last couple of years. We got a bunch of receivers, right? Everybody know that we passed up on that guy that Walls keep calling DJ Metcalf. We passed up on DK Metcalf. And unfortunately, it just tell me, just like a lot of teams, they don't get it right. And these guys, a lot of people passed on Mr. Hill and some of these other receivers. They think they know that next guy, and they just don't, right? They come in and you think you really got a guy who's a stud, then he's injured. So you just really you can't overplay the draft and go up to grab some of these pieces that are kind of like luxury pieces. You got to go up and maybe address some of those interior linemen, at least get yourself a good, a quarterback you think can win some games for you. I think start in that backfield and then work your way out. And if you don't address those things, there's no reason going up and getting those 6'5" wide receiver. He's going to be out there looking just like Devontae Parker, and he's going to average 40 catches and 2 touchdowns.
Well, I got a DFS question for you. Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Burks, all these guys are talented. There's no doubt. And I think all of them will go in the first round. I don't even think there's a question. In DFS, do you usually look at rookies, or do you just say, look, they better have the right matchup? I mean, we've had Jerry Jeudy, right, who was underperformed. I mean, Chase was terrific, but how many Chases are there really? Are you willing to roster, in a GPP or in cash games, or do you tend to avoid your rookies?
This is, and that's a great example, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you 2 receivers that were top notch, and I got them both for my rookie year. They're rookie years, and they gave me championship. In the same year, I had them both. One was Julio Jones and AJ Green. They came out the same year. Okay, they didn't start out on fire. Okay, but as the year wore on, they got better. Who does that remind you of last year? Chase, right? Chase had some problems in the beginning, but then all of a sudden he started catching fire. And then, so those receivers, but we don't grab those receivers in the first round, because it's going to take receivers a while to catch on the nuances of the game and things like that. The only receiver that we've seen that was like that I remember that was just on fire was Randy Moss. Randy Moss came out like house on fire in the beginning. But normally it's going to take a little while before those receivers, learn, and they gotta learn to lay the lane. And depends on who they go to. They got a quarterback that sucks ass. What's going to happen? It doesn't even make a difference. They're going so they're not going to be there. So it depends on the situation that they get. Like Randy Moss was a perfect situation for the Vikings at that time. He went off, and you saw what he did to the Cowboys his first year, because that was a team that passed on Randy Moss. So that for me, they're later rounds for me, not in the first. I don't see nobody that's going to be at the first round coming out of this draft. Not for me in DFS.
Swami, in DFS or maybe seasonal, Bateman had some good games last year, right? We wanted to play him. He was cheap. I feel like in DFS, you get these rookies, and at first they're overpriced. And then if they don't perform, they drop in price. And then eventually you find that middle ground. What are your thoughts on like playing in DFS and using a rookie? Do you tend to avoid that?
Yeah, again, it has to be a blue chip, right? Somebody who we think is definitely going to come in and light it up. But me taking a rookie first round, taking a receiver for me first round, especially depending on the league, even if it's PPR, is unlikely. So if I just can't imagine a situation where I would do that. Even the years that Wall's talking about, I'm thinking back, it didn't matter if it was Jefferson recently. It didn't matter if it was Beckham, and I think he came on probably after like week 6 or something like that of that year. It wouldn't matter who the receiver was. I'm going to be looking to get those guys 7th, 8th round after everybody else is kind of taking some of these guys who are going to be doubled and triple teamed all year early. And so then you get away with somebody like a Jefferson while all the attention is going to the other side. And you get to take advantage of somebody like Ridley while all the attention is going to the other side. But the key there, in every one of these situations, it was a quarterback involved, and it was an offense that was involved that helped them be successful. I take somebody like Davante Adams, right? They always think that, they're getting all these picks right. It was a bunch of guys that went ahead of him you probably never heard of. He was a 53rd pick. So what does that tell you? Every year, it's somebody who comes in and really performs at that level, I want to say almost right away. And then every year we see they go ahead and they draft up for some guys. Take that tight end that the Falcons took last year. And folks were talking about taking him early, 2nd, 3rd round in fantasy drafts. Here, there's no way. You talk about milk. He was milk of the milk.
But let's stop for a second. I don't think Kyle Pitts was the Pitts. The second Calvin Ridley was gone, he was seeing the best coverage from the other team. When Ridley was there, he was at least getting better looks. And then all of a sudden, they were using Patterson a little bit. Ryan couldn't find anybody. Then the team just started to play terribly. But I think losing Calvin Ridley really hurt Kyle Pitts. You don't agree with that?
Doc Pitts had 1 touchdown.
Is that his fault?
Doc. I mean, that would put him, as far as being ranked at tight ends, Doc, that would have to put him somewhere in the bottom half of
How many catches did he have for tight end?
68.
What number was that for tight end?
That's probably top half, but it was, it wasn't as long. He had 1,000 yards, so you could give him that. You could give him the 68 catches. He had 1 touchdown, but you would be able to get a tight end in the 15th round that you could get that type of production from.
But I guarantee
what do you think of that?
I guarantee you this year, because what is Mariota? He's a tight end guy. Okay. Case in point, Delaney Walker. Okay, you got to remember, even in the one game that he had extended time, Waller, he was peppering Waller with it. So for me, this would be with Mariota, because some guys not a wide, he's a tight end guy. I guarantee you that that the tight end for the Falcons will be used more this year because he utilizes his tight ends. So,
but to answer the question, I don't think the offense is going to score that much.
No. Listen, I'm not saying Mariota, but I'm just saying one guy who will improve his position will be the tight end this year because Delaney Walker, he fed Delaney Walker more than anybody. Listen, Delaney Walker was almost a superstar with Mariota.
So is it over on reception 68 and yards 1,026 or just
over receptions? Yeah, over.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah. Over. He's gonna be over. He's gonna be way over.
1,000 yards, I don't know, but receptions over. Think about it this way, guys. Would you say Travis Kelce is going to be number 1 in receptions and Mark Andrews is number 2? Is Darren Waller number 3 with Davante Adams there? I don't know about that. Davante Adams is going to see 100 passes.
Right. And then you could get him because people still going to just look at the name and draft him at that position, So you could get a better discount on him this year. And then I really think he's going to be a better bargain because Mariota, you got some guys just like going to tight ends, and he's a tight end guy.
But you still got Kittles, you got Hawkinson.
Yeah, but Kittle, I worry about Kittle too, and I'll tell you why. What if Trey Lance is there? You think that guy's completing 25 passes a week? He might complete 16.
got a good point. Maybe Font. He's got a quarterback that loves to go to tight ends now. Got Gesicki. His number's probably gonna be a little bit lower. You got Goddard.
Yeah, and Gesicki, because Gesicki, look, they got a whole bunch of people that they're gonna throw it to. So I wouldn't want to draft Gesicki. He wouldn't be my guy.
I like Gesicki, but I think he goes down too. I agree with that.
I'm getting tight ends towards the back of the order. I won't be taking a tight end. I promise.
Can I tell you a tight end that I like a lot this year? Don't be shocked. Dalton Schultz. There's no Amari Cooper anymore. Michael Gallup is injured, right? When is he coming back? You got CeeDee Lamb and you got Dalton Schultz. And Dak Prescott went to Schultz a lot.
I hope the Cowboys draft somebody. I hope they grab the guy from USC or the guy from Arkansas or maybe the guy from Penn State. They're going to need at least two of them jokers. That doesn't sound great. And you talk about him getting the coverage. He could potentially get, coverage too if he starts to emerge and go off. If they only got to cover Lamb. Like before, they at least had 2 or 3 guys they had to look out for. Wilson was taking coverage. So Schultz found himself open as a result of all of those guys taking the coverage.
And Cedric Wilson's not there either.
Right.
And by the way, anybody who drafts Ezekiel Elliott in the first round is nuts.
I promise you guys, Ezekiel going to be a top 20 pick again.
Not by me.
I'm not taking him, but he's going to go in most drafts.
I agree.
It's not coming back down on that stack. I'm telling you.
Yeah, not by me.
He looks slow. Tony Pollard, honestly, tell me that Tony Pollard didn't look better than Zeke every game.
It was night and day to me. You know,
it was 8 to 10 touches, though. I mean, he got to do it for 22, 23 touches.
What I'm saying is when he got that chance to start, he delivered to me, and he just looks explosive. You look at Zeke, man. Woo. Stop wearing those.
Looks like he's running in mud.
Huh?
Looks like he's running in mud.
Yeah, and stop wearing those cutoff shirts, Zeke. Come on, buddy.
A hater.
All right, last thing before we go. Is Rob Gronkowski going to re-sign with Tampa Bay? Is he in or out?
I think he might play as long as Tom plays.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Tom's going to feed him. So as long as Tom is there, he will be there.
They got a chance to break a couple more records, but I think Gronk is ready to get to the WWE or, doing something down in Miami.
Do we like what Bruce Arians did, guys? Did that shock you, Willie? Bruce Arians basically quitting his job and giving it to Todd Bowles.
Listen, he won a Super Bowl. Listen, Bruce is a different bird. Okay, he's a different bird. Remember, he was criticizing Tom early.
That's what I was going to say, Doc. I mean, for a while, although Willie was anti Mr. Antonio Brown, I was slower to judge. But after seeing Bruce Arians in that press conference, how he handled this situation, it kind of swung back the other way, meaning that it's hard now to kind of defend Brown when he's that way with the media, the owners, the coaching staff, his quarterback, and everybody else on the team. Now you can't expect special treatment. You can't say things like the way he talked to me when they said that he used the same type of language, he used the same, type of verbs with everybody, including Tom Brady. There's no way you think you're special then. I'm sorry. I don't care what he told you on that field. He could have told you everything except something like what Walls was talking about, taking you out on whatever that was that he was doing earlier. Short of something like that. I can't imagine anything that would make you take off your clothes on the field and leave the stadium. So, especially, again, if he is the same way with everybody. That's how they say with referees, Walls, that's all you ask. Call it the same way on both sides.
Yeah.
Be consistent.
I think that's why his players respect him. He said, "Damn, he yelling at Tom like that."
Tom,
because
coaches,
he said, "Tom,
owner, media, owner."
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you guys a great story. There's a story in the Sports Illustrated about Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan. Nobody got yelled at for the Spurs more than Tim Duncan, and Duncan never said a word. And all the other Spurs, including Kawhi Leonard, nobody ever argued, because if Tim Duncan, who's one of the 10 best players of all time, didn't say anything to Popovich, how could any of those guys say anything?
Exactly.
Right? The same concept.
Well, Belichick held Brady accountable. I mean, so it was that type of relationship. But that, I'm just going to say you, Antonio, that's how great of a coach Tomlin was. Just think about it. All that stuff about Antonio Brown was under wraps in Pittsburgh. We didn't know jack. As soon as he got out of Pittsburgh, man.
The crazy went out. He
was like a girl that was by, was just by herself early. Then she went to college and went nuts. You know what I mean? That's what Antonio Brown is.
All I know.
I love Willie's.
His references.
Hey, hold on.
His references are absolutely terrible. Hey, let me get one of those disclaimers. Willie Wall's references do not reflect the views of this show. Not our producer.
We're going to get kicked off social media.
Not anybody. We do not endorse any of these views whatsoever. And wait, one more before we go, because we always talking about, like from a DFS perspective, right? And from a fantasy perspective. And so a lot of these moves that we're seeing right now are really impacting DFS a lot. Like right now, nobody's really talking about it. Everybody's trying to be a little bit optimistic and saying what that means for Hill and what that means for – these are huge DFS impacts. Huge. These are huge.
I'm not even sure on a weekly basis. Hill, Waddle, Gesicki, guys that we loved last year.
Yes. This is huge.
I don't even know if you play them. I mean, what if they're all getting fewer catches? Hill is going to be like the second or third most expensive receiver. Why would you ever take him? Waddle was getting 9-10 receptions a game. He's not going to see that. I mean, I think when all these guys, look at even Devontae Adams with Waller and Renfro. Is he going to see as much? Right. I think a more balanced lineup is the way that I'm envisioning DFS this year.
Listen, crazy. The key is preseason will be more important this year than ever. I will be watching preseason so I can see how stuff's going to mix up, and I'm definitely going to tape all those third games or something, the games that count, because I want to see how I got to see this mix, because I'm not going to be paying. You're right. I'm going to be paying.
We haven't had a preseason in a while, right? We've gone a couple of years without a true preseason. So now we'll get to see some things, and there's at least a couple of guys who haven't had a preseason, who hadn't had opportunities before. So we're going to see, and we'll see how it plays out.
Preseason will be essential this year for me to see. I need to see some stuff, so I can see how this is going to work out.
I'm with you. All right, guys. Great show. What do we say when we leave? We say be well and
take care.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.